Hello, how is everyone doing? Today we will be going over celibacy in the different religious orders. So without further ado, let us begin. Down the ages, the highest stress has been laid on brahmacharya, or sexual abstinence. In every religion, throughout folklore, runs the idea that second sight and the vision of the supernatural are especially, if not solely, the privilege of the celibates. And this is the truth for all religions. Whether this is talking with spirits, daemons, entities in the supernatural, etc. You have to, whether you read a grimoire, anything of these sorts, they will tell you straightforward. If you are not chaste for at least 7 to 14 days, you won't get any supernatural privileges. You won't be able to talk to any deities. You won't be getting any downloads from these special deities because you lack the energy that's required, right? You have to have a certain level of energy, right? Like I explained in my previous semen retention videos, there's a certain level of aura you receive that's not necessarily in the physical plane. It's a level of aura that's existing in a different plane of existence. Westermark favors the explanation that pollution destroys holiness. A tribe on the Rio enjoyed celibacy upon their shamans because they believed that medicine would prove ineffective if administered by a married man. Lambicus states that the gods do not hear him who invokes them if he is impure from sexual connections. In Islam, strict continence is required on the pilgrimage to Mecca. So, as we explained, many ideologies require you to be at least somewhat of this understanding of continence to maintain the sexual energy, because the sexual root chakra energy is very potent. And for it to climb up the rest of the chakras, it's essential to maintain this energy and not allow it to be so staticky and constantly in a state of motion or a state of regeneration as well. It should be in a state of flow, and that happens only through strict continence. It is required for the Hebrew congregation during the theophany at Sinai and before entering the temple. Ancient India, Egypt, and Greece enforced the rule that the worshipper must abstain from intercourse during any and before worship. So, like we mentioned, many countries, many religions, many languages that end up rooting from Hebrew, Greek, Enochian, etc. They all will explain to you that when it comes to getting information or actual worship to any of these deities and gods, etc., it's essential to remain pure, or else you won't get a call. They won't even acknowledge it if you're not pure. In Christianity, continence was required as a preparation for both baptism and Eucharist. The highest type of Christian was a celibate. Christian teachers praised celibacy, and marriage came to be, in their eyes, only a secondary good for those who were unable to serve continence. So early on, they believed in Christianity that the best way to serve as a Christian would to be celibacy, and marriage would just be a secondary good. So they truly understood the value of preserving the sexual life force. The bishops of the Greek Church are always celibates, being chosen from the monks. The monk who lowers himself to touch a woman's person with corrupt thoughts, while he clasps her hand or clasps her hair or touches one part or another of her body, brings shame and degradation on the entire order. The present ordination vow is to abstain from all sexual intercourse as long as life shall last. The Jains force on their munis the rule to abstain from all sexual relations, not to discuss topics relating to women, not to contemplate the forms of women. Lust thus is condemned. Of the myriad of vices, lust is the worst. There are other rules subsidiary to this, forbidding all actions of all an unchaste kind, especially any act or word which might either lead to a breach of the principal rule or give rise to an impression that it was not being strictly observed. A bhikshu is not to sleep in any place where a woman is present, or to preach the sacred doctrine in more than 5 or 6 words to a woman, unless a grown-up may be present, or to exhort the sisters, unless specially deputed to do so, or to journey along the same route with a woman. On his round for alms, he is to be properly clad, and he is to walk with downcast eyes. He is not to accept a robe from any woman not related to him, except under specified conditions. He is not to sit in a secluded place with the woman, much less to touch or speak to her with impure intent. The Buddhist order of mendicants was governed by the 227 rules of the Patimokkha. Of these, the first 4 were of a specific gravity. A breach of any of the 4 rules involved expulsion from the order, and they were therefore called the parajika, or the rules as to acts involving defeat. The first rule says, "Whatsoever bhikshu who has taken upon himself the system of self-training and rule of life has not therefore withdrawn from the training or declared his inability to keep the rule, shall have carnal knowledge of any living thing, down even to an animal, he has fallen into defeat. He is no longer in communion." Withdrawn from the training was the technical expression for throwing off the robes, retiring from the order, and returning to the world, a step which any member of the order was at liberty to take at any time. Numa was said to have instituted the order of Vestal virgins. They remained unmarried for 30 years. Burial alive was the penalty for breaking the vow of chastity. The virgins were distinguished by extraordinary influence and personal dignity. They were treated with marks of respect, usually according to royalty. Thus, on the streets, they were preceded by a lictor, and the highest magistrates made way for them. So they were definitely respected in high regards. They enjoyed sometimes the exceptional privilege of riding in carriage at public games. A place of honor was assigned to them, and after death, they, like the emperators, were allowed to be buried within the city because they were above the laws. They enjoyed the royal privilege of mercy, for if they met a criminal on his way to execution, his life was spared. So they had a very touching nature to them. They were able to touch the hearts of the people that they were around, and with that they were deemed royalty as well. In the large colony of the Tibetans at Darjeeling, several hundreds of the men doing low-wage labor work are ex-lamas who fled from Tibet with their paramours or by themselves in order to escape the severe penalties attaching to their breach of celibacy. The delinquent is denounced, and if caught, is subject to corporal chastisement in public, as well as to a heavy fine and expulsion from the order in disgrace. And finally, the Peruvian virgins of the sun, a type of priests, were punished with living burial if detected in misconduct. So guys, this has been like an overview of us going over the celibacy in different religious orders. So feel free to like the video.